Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Bell, and today is Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. We'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. As a reminder, our call-in number is 971-254-3149, 607#. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourselves when called to speak, again pressing *6. It's very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. Well, welcome to the call. We'll start out with the Board of Commissioners. Good morning, Commissioner Olson.
Good morning. I'm here, ready to go.
Wonderful. And Commissioner Scar may or may not be here because she had a 7:30 meeting. So I believe she's going to join us a few minutes late. So we'll jump right in with Adventist Health Tillamook and President Eric Swanson. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Commissioner. This morning we have 12 patients in the hospital. Our ambulance crews did 5 911 transports yesterday, 1 transfer, no transports home. 105 patients boarding at emergency departments across Oregon. That's 13 more than yesterday. There are 372 patients ready to be discharged, no place to go. That's 1 less than yesterday. I had a lunch meeting out of the office yesterday, and I got to see some of our the mayors from our various cities in Tillamook, and it was nice to meet them and say hello to them, and I appreciate them allowing me to interrupt their meeting for just a minute. So with that, I've got that's all I've got for you, unless you've got questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Eric? If not, we'll say thank you. And the mayor's meeting sounds interesting. I used to go to those years ago when I worked for the Headlight Herald, and I thought they were wonderful.
Yep, I just interrupted them to say hello and had a table next to theirs. So great to see them collaborating on things. Yep, for
nice.
Sure.
That's great. All right, thank you. Well, we can move right into the Coastal Caucus. Do we have Senator Weber with us this morning?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning.
We had quite a storm this weekend, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I got to drive home through it, and so with the leaves and the wind and the rain, it felt like November. So
I agree.
I spent last week in Salem because of Ledge Days, and it was very busy and very informative. I started out with the Water Caucus, and there was a representative from the governor's office there to talk about all of the water challenges. I know with the rain and everything that we have, that we should worry about water. But yes, we, even with the amount of rain we get, have to worry about water. And so there are some interesting things happening in the water arena. And so hopefully we'll be hearing more. I know I have been hearing from small farmers, especially those that provide vegetables for our farmers markets, about how they are being impacted by water use and their ability to keep their small farms going. And so right now I am looking into that, and hopefully I will have some more definitive answers for you in the near future. But anyway, it was a very good meeting on water laws, administrative structures, implementing those laws, and some of those laws that just are no longer suited for today's collection and distribution of water. And also we talked about the water for being able to build, and how can we supply clean water. And so it was a well-attended, good discussion with the governor's representative. The other meeting that I had that was so impactful was Human Services, because we heard from the family of the woman that had dementia, that was in a facility for just 5 days and then wandered off because the facility didn't have adequate locks on the door. And then she was found deceased on Christmas morning. And so we had a very in-depth report on what is happening in our facilities, especially surrounding people with dementia and the elderly and their need for care. And it was very distressing to hear of some of the situations that are occurring. And there was an item on the news last night about care facilities and the challenge with the aging population to be able to take care of our elderly. And so that is something that will be coming to our Human Services meeting in the next session especially. I was invited to the signing of 2 bills by the governor that were passed in the short session. One was the Education Omnibus Bill, and the other was the Marine Reserve Bill. And we went to the state library for that, and I saw a whole room of card catalogs. And remember how we used to have the little drawers that pulled out with all the little cards in it? Just picture a whole room, like the size of 2 classrooms, filled with card catalog, little drawers that you could pull out with little cards in it. I was impressed. But anyway, it was nice to be able to speak with the governor on some of the issues that I had been corresponding with her on, and to be able to witness her signing of those bills. The Marine Reserve Bill is especially important to the coast, and so that was really impactful. The other issue that we spent a lot of time talking about this week was the Education Committee gave us a real overview on summer learning and some of the issues with the allocation of money for summer learning and who receives the money and who didn't receive the money and why they didn't receive the money. And I'm afraid I was a little vocal in defense of my district, because being rural and seeing a lot of it go to urban areas was kind of upsetting to me. And then seeing what it was that they felt was so important on those applications and the challenges that rural Oregon has to being able to provide those was kind of glaring, and I'm afraid I had some opinions. I also presented the challenges that we face on the coast to the Environmental Caucus on Transportation. They had a meeting, that very extensive meeting, talking about transportation and what we are going to need to do to be able to fulfill the needs of the people who live in rural Oregon. And one of the suggestions, which I find very interesting, but it's not something we can do anything about, was someone suggested that we needed an electric railroad to take people from the valley to Astoria and down the coast. Now, my goodness sakes, how much would that cost? And would they be able to find someplace that wasn't going to be able to slide into the ocean to put that on? So anyway, I'm kind of a skeptic on some of the ideas that are coming forward to transportation especially. And so I really want to emphasize that joint transportation roadshow is coming to Tillamook. Now, originally, they were not going to come to the North Coast, but they have decided that if they're going to make this tour, we are going to be included. And so that is June 18th, and it's going to be at the Port of Tillamook Bay in the officers' mess. And the committee will be here, and this is Senate and House, Republicans and Democrats. They're going to be here in Tillamook. Noon to 2, they're going to have a tour of some of our transportation projects. And as of yet, it has not been released as to what those projects are that they're coming to see. Now, from 2:30 to 4:30, there's going to be a roundtable discussion, which they are saying they are going to allow 50 to 60 people to attend. And I think that that's a kind of an ambitious number for a roundtable discussion, but it should be interesting. And then in the evening from 5 to 7, there's going to be a public hearing where people will have, a limited amount of time to present their concerns. I have been asked to submit a list of people to be invited or included in this, and I have, because Hillsborough is close to part of my district, some of my district could go to Hillsborough and find it easier, but Tillamook and Clatsop counties are definitely my purview for including in this. And so I have requested that all of the mayors and public works and especially our county commissioners be included in this and invited to this. And I have also included other people as far as leadership and electeds and city managers and mayors and council people, so that they can come and listen. And if they have things that they want to bring to the Joint Transportation Commission, that they should be doing that, because here is an opportunity for them to get their opinions heard and their concerns. So that's about all I have to say. I'll be attending a workshop in the Bend area for the rest of the week to deal with future legislation. And I think that's going to be really interesting. And I'll also be meeting with the fire chief from South County in an hour or so to talk about legislative issues, because those things are coming fast. I had meetings with lobbyists, and lobbyists are bringing forth a lot of ideas for the long session. And the other thing I wanted to say is, if you are a municipality within earshot, please be lining up your capital construction projects that you can propose to me for future legislation. And that's what I have to say today. I'll sit inside and watch the rain and have my meetings.
Thank
Any
you,
questions?
Senator. Well,
I
thanks so
don't
much.
know if I don't know if Kate
Go
is
ahead.
on here this morning with an update on the possibilities for cell service, but I think she has some news that she could share if she is on this meeting.
Senator,
Well, lovely.
this is Commissioner Olson. I have all that information if she's not there, and I'll report it when my time comes. But yes, we have some very good news.
Very good news, isn't it? I think that the people of Tillamook County will be pleased.
Yes, I can do it now if you like, Commissioner Bell, or what would be your preference?
Well, let's hold for just a second, because I want to respond to the senator's report about the Joint Transportation Commission meeting in Tillamook. That is very exciting, and thank you for sharing that news. This is the first I'd heard about it. I don't know if I've received an email about it. I haven't seen it yet. So thank you for letting us know about it and for including us on the invitation list.
I will tell you that communication about this has been very stilted. We almost had to beg for information on it. And so the planning of it is kind of lagging behind. The first one is in Portland this week. And so there's going to be things that are shared in that meeting that we need to pay attention to. But as of yet, that information has not been released.
Okay, well, I'm very glad that you're personally inviting people because that's how they're going to get people there if it's not published. So
Yeah, Commissioner.
If an invitation is missed, I have given you the information. It's a public meeting. You can be there.
Fabulous, thank you. And when in the list of folks that you said that you invited, I didn't hear you include the ports. So the ports are probably on your list, but if they're not, please consider them.
They are, and I'm sorry, I failed to acknowledge them.
That's okay. All right. So
Thank you.
Commissioner Olson, you're welcome. And Commissioner Olson, did you want to talk about Highway 6?
Well, I will. Thank you. A couple of weeks ago, both Senator and I were in Salem along with Representative Javity. And the idea was to meet with the people and see if we could light a fire under the Oregon Department of Forestry to get moving on cell service. Well, it turns out they did have some negotiations going and they released some information. The state has awarded a contract to Tower Company, which I believe is a subsidiary of T-Mobile, one of the large cell service companies in America. And it will be what they call a macro tower, which means that it can handle cell service, it can handle fire notices and scanning for fires. It can also handle a variety of other communications. And typically the way this works is once there's a large tower, several cell companies lease space on that tower. So there's a good chance that when this one is up, it will include Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, and maybe some others. And this is just the first of several to come. The better news is of the lease that was in the $40,000+ range annually, $27,000 of that comes to Tillamook County. Now, that isn't a lot of money, particularly when it gets spread among our various taxing districts that do receive funds from the Tillamook Forest. So it's a few $1,000s here and there, but nonetheless, this is the first of many to come, and the contract has signed, and I'm not exactly sure how long it will be, but we're one step closer to getting cell service, continuous cell service over Highway 6. And I know there are literally thousands of people go both ways on that highway every week, and there's a dead space of 25 to 30 miles. So the first step has been made to fix that and have continuous cell service all the way into the Portland area and Tillamook on the other side. So good news indeed, and the government moves at a snail's pace, but it eventually gets there. And in this case, they got there. So that's the report on that one. Thank you.
That is very good news. Thank you. So previously, someone else had comments to make. I heard someone say, Commissioner. Would that person like to speak now?
Thank you, Commissioner Bales. Commissioner Scar, I have arrived. Sorry to be late today. I was just going to share that for the roundtable, the county received through AOC the ability to have 2 people at the table, and the invites for that were for Chris Laity, our Public Works Director, and Commissioner Olson. So those should be going out. So just kind of a heads up that AOC had a limited ability. So I want to thank the senator who has a much more broad ranging ability to invite people for broadening the representation that can be at that table. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anything else for Senator Weber? If not, let's move on to Representative Javity. Are you with us this morning?
I'm here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. It's great news about the cell tower. Thanks for filling us in on those details, Commissioner Olson. Other news and info I've been working on in the last week, like Senator Weber, I was in Salem last week for legislative days, productive meetings, discussing a range of topics from healthcare issues to housing. And some of the highlights from that were I met with drug manufacturers. We discussed drug affordability. We're really looking at targeting some more legislation in the upcoming session at people between drug manufacturing, or not people, but companies that get in the way of people getting their prescriptions at an affordable cost at the pharmacy. And so we're going to take aim at that and try to eliminate some of the practices that are driving up those costs. They were pretty frank in their discussions talking about how a lot of the same drugs that we get in the United States are much more priced at the retail level, much more expensively than in European and other countries around the world. And that's because of the practices of some of these intermediaries. And so Chair Nose of the Healthcare Committee is working with me as well as a couple of others to put together a task force or a work group to really come up with how we're going to take aim at that. And we should see, hopefully, if not almost immediately after the legislation, a reduction in the prices of some of those important medications that our most vulnerable population depend on. So that's good news. I like the way that's going. I also met with some environmental groups this last week. I met with Environmental Oregon. I met with a bill signing for the Marine Reserve bill with Governor Kotek last week, and afterwards I went back and continued that discussion, talking about, the importance of the Marine Reserves bill, but also some of the local issues just in our own Tillamook Bay and up and down the coast that impact things like the population, as well as our oysters and shellfish. And so some productive conversations there. Looking forward to continuing to meet with them to come up with some legislation that will help keep our bays a popular place for recreation as well as seafood production. I also met with another environmental group to discuss the Habitat Conservation Plan, which is wild salmon, who's been at the table throughout the last several years, looking out for the needs of the conservationally minded constituents, but are willing partners to wanting to make sure we keep the Department of Forestry practice managing the forest well. And so we're going to again convene some work groups over the next several months as we come up with legislation for the winter session in 2025 to make sure the Department of Forestry is doing what they said they'll do, and that the impact on our counties and the members of our community will be attenuated to some degree by better oversight and accountability. Also on healthcare, talked about the extreme cost of ambulance rides. Anybody who's had to take a ride in an ambulance knows that sometimes insurance doesn't cover all of that, and then there's a big bill afterwards. In several states around the country, that is not allowed. We call that balanced billing of ambulance rides. And so we are potentially looking at some legislation that will make it so that balanced billing can't take place on things like ambulance rides when we are in an emergency situation like that. So that was exciting. We talked a lot about housing issues. Appreciate Commissioner Scar, who was part of our housing update last week in Salem, and she discussed how kind of the state of the county when it comes to housing and some of the issues that we face as a county that she has from her vantage point, serving on, as a part of the county, serving as a county commissioner and dealing with these problems on a daily basis. And I thought her remarks were very informative. I know the members of the committee thought that was interesting. I think that you could see the lights turn on when they heard things like, hey, we've got 200 sites in our buildable inventory, which, I mean, if you're not in the housing world, maybe that doesn't make a ton of sense, but that we can't really build on. And but other members of the committee don't realize things like that, and it makes them scratch their heads and think, well, geez, how do we fix that? So we're looking at unique solutions that are going to, for our unique challenges that we have on the coast, and things like that Commissioner Scar brought up that really shine the light on some easy ways potentially to just make it a more affordable and to greenlight projects here on the coast to really start taking a serious stab at at fixing our housing problems here on the coast. So unfortunately, things like that are very slow moving. It'll take some more discussion. I wouldn't expect to see any changes immediately, but perhaps by the end of next session, as this continues to be a priority in Oregon, we can get the governor to sign a bill that will make building on the coast more affordable and easier. And the last thing I want to do is say congratulations to all of our graduating seniors in the district. And last weekend was a big weekend. I was personally at the Tillamook high school graduation ceremony. We had two children who had finally made it all the way through somehow, and I'm really proud of them and proud of all the other graduating seniors and the teachers and administrators and parents, everybody who's made that possible over the years for these kids. And they're excited to get off to college, and I know that same experience happened down in Nesleka and up in the north part of the county and the district. So congratulations to all of our seniors, and best of luck to you and whatever's next. Enjoy your summer off, because when the fall comes, those of you going to college are going to have a eye-opening experience when you see how much work college is. And those going on to trade programs and maybe just entering the workforce, same thing. Welcome to adulthood. It is every bit as fun as you imagine, and even more so. And but be responsible out there and make good choices. And we're looking forward to being supportive. And then kind of just on a side note, in case there's any of our the north part of our district listening, I know that some people up in Clackamas County do. There's an update on the Gearhart zip code issue. For those of you that don't know, Gearhart doesn't have its own zip code. It shares with Warrenton and Seaside, and they would desperately love their own, and they've been pushing for it for a while. The good news is that there is a meeting this Thursday with Senator Merkley-Wyden and myself, Representative Bonamici. I'm certain Senator Weber will be part of that as well, to discuss getting Gearhart their own zip code and what the status of that is, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but you would not believe how excited the people in Gearhart are to be getting a zip code. So good news all around for that, and that is all I've got for you.
Thank you, Representative. I really appreciate your work on affordable medications. I think that's a huge issue for Oregonians and certainly for Americans. It's a tremendous issue. I couldn't begin to count the number of articles I've read about people who just can't afford basic medication that is very, very affordable. The same medication is very affordable in other countries. So I just think that's maddening, and we need to fix it.
It's really frustrating, and you feel helpless when you're at the pharmacy and you're on a limited income, and they tell you that your prescription drug is going to be hundreds of dollars, and if you've got cancer, thousands of dollars, and that's a life changer for people, and they can't do anything else besides spend their last penny on that. And I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I think that we need to do something about it, and we will. And in that same vein, I was going to mention, this is, I don't know if it's necessarily more personal, but I think it's more related to what I do in a day job, and that's dental care for our seniors. Medicare doesn't cover it. Medicaid doesn't really cover it after you turn 65 either. In Oregon, I feel like we have a population that desperately wants and needs dental care at a time when their teeth are, 6 decades old. And so we're looking at legislation and discussing things with Oregon Health Authority to create a option to keep our seniors enrolled in Medicaid if they qualify, and that would include dental benefits. Because generally, when you turn 65, Medicare covers your health, and you don't really need Medicaid specifically, but they don't provide dental, and so I'm trying to fill that little part of the donut hole that leaves our seniors, again, spending lots of their money on necessary dental care that, again, when you think about things like prescription drugs and all the other pressures competing for money in their pocketbook, they just don't have a lot of left, and it leads to things like removing a tooth instead of fixing a tooth, which, of course, makes it a little harder to eat and do things and look pretty for pictures, etc. So try to take aim at that too, and hopefully we'll have something in the next session that really makes that problem go away.
Thank you for sharing that. I had no idea that Medicare does not have dental coverage. Maybe I should have known it, but I'm not Medicare eligible yet. And I'm just dumbfounded because dental health is so much a part of our overall health. It's completely outrageous that that's not included. So I'm so glad that you're working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I should have known too. I mean, I'm in the business, but I just assumed that they could get Medicaid if they qualified, and I found out recently otherwise, that they just, unless you're a veteran. Now, if you're a veteran of the United States, you can get Oregon Health Plan Medicaid dental benefits, but it is almost the only option for our seniors. So well, I want to expand that, just throw the doors open wide on that. And if you qualify and you're over 65, you lose your health benefits because Medicare covers it, but we'll keep you on. We'll give you dental benefits, and I'm pretty hopeful the Oregon Health Authority seems pretty open to the idea and more discussions about it.
Good. Thank you for working on that. Do we have any questions for Representative Javidi? If not, we'll say thank you both so much for representing us and for joining us on this call. It is always very interesting. And when I hear from folks in the community, the comments that I get most often are how much they value hearing from the Coastal Caucus. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
With that, we can move on to Tillamook County Community Health Centers.
And good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Tillamook County. This is Ed Colson with the Health Department here.
Good morning, Ed.
Good morning. June is Men's Health Month. We want to encourage men of all ages to schedule routine medical and dental exams. Routine preventative care can help you stay well and catch problems early, helping you live a longer, healthier life. Preventative health visits, screenings, and vaccines are benefits that are covered by many health plans. So please ask your healthcare provider about your options. Now, June is also National Safety Month. Safety matters every day of the year, and during June, we get to celebrate this with resources to keep ourselves, our families, and our communities safe. Throughout this month, please follow our Facebook page for safety information on emergency preparedness, slips, trips, and falls, heat-related illness, and hazard recognition. Now, a couple of notices. The current recreational shellfish harvesting closure has been expanded as of May 31st until further notice, due to cases of paralytic shellfish poisoning, PSP. This closure includes some mussel harvesting along the entire Oregon coast. Some areas are also closed for bay clamming and razor clamming. The Oregon Department of Agriculture is monitoring the toxin levels and will announce the reopening of closed areas when determined safe. So for current status, please call ODA's Shellfish Biotoxin Hotline, and that phone number is at 1-800-448-2474. Or please visit their website for recreational shellfish biotoxin closures webpage. Now, symptoms of paralytic shellfish poisoning include gastrointestinal upset, which is like nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, paresthesia or burning sensation on the skin, shortness of breath, headache, confusion, and in severe cases, weakness and paralysis. Please contact the Oregon Poison Center, and that phone number is 1-800-222-1222. If you encounter a suspected case, if you are ill, please seek care right away. And then lastly, a sharp rise in Oregon's pertussis or whooping cough cases has prompted the Oregon Health Authority to issue a public health warning and encourage people to get vaccinated against the disease with the DTaP vaccine, which is diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. While there are not currently any cases reported here in Tillamook County, there have been 178 cases reported in other, which includes our neighboring counties, which is a 770% increase over this time last year. Infants are at the highest risk of complications and deaths, so vaccination is recommended for infants and pregnant women, but also for children, adolescents, and adults. And with that, that's our health department update, and we'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Ed. I have a question about the vaccination. So I think a lot of people, most people maybe, got that vaccination that you described, the pertussis, whooping cough, et cetera, when we were children. So are the people who are getting it now, they were never vaccinated? And is there a booster recommendation, or what can you say about that?
As far as regards to that, I'm not a healthcare provider, so I don't have the information in regards to the recommendations, but our healthcare providers who man our public health nurse line would be able to answer those questions. So just to confirm, if anybody has any questions about if they need a booster for their DTaP, if you contact your healthcare provider or contact our health center, our nurses will be able to help out with information.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ed? If not, we can move on to the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. Do we have Gail Nelson with us this morning?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Just another announcement about the upcoming June 23rd fundraising concert. We are still excited to be partnering with the Nehalem Bay Health District and North Coast Music Project to bring Rick Estrin and the Night Cats to Tillamook County next month. It's a special fundraiser for the new Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. The concert is Sunday, June 23rd at 3 p.m. North County Recreation District's Performing Arts Center. So please visit our website or Facebook page for details. We're about almost halfway sold out, and the ticketing information can be found on our Facebook or nehalembayhealth.org. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail. I have read about that concert, and it sounds like a lot of fun. I think it'll be a real community celebration. So thank you for mentioning it.
I agree. Definitely. I'm really excited. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I know that we don't have Frank Hanna-Williams with us this morning, so we can move into the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Brown, are you with us?
I am here today. I've got nothing to report, but I can take questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Sheriff Brown? If not, we can move into emergency management. Randy Thorpe.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
I'm glad that Ed talked about the shellfish situation, so I won't talk about that with what I had. He did a great job on that. So anyway, weather-wise, looking at what the National Weather Service has to say, it looks like we're going to get an additional 1/4 of an inch today. And looking at some history, it looks like we've gotten between 2.5 and 3 inches since Sunday, and the higher totals are in the north end of the county. So hopefully all our hillsides along 101 and our other roads will absorb as a little bit more moisture before they decide to start migrating their way downhill. So hopefully this rain will stop later on this evening is what they're saying. As far as the tar on the beach situation, I got an email from the Department of Environmental Quality, and they kind of stopped doing any checking and picking up the last few days because of the storm coming in. It kept moving the little tar balls around and hiding them and uncovering them, and so it was kind of they decided to wait until today to start going back out and redeploying and aggressively looking for those oiled areas now that the storm's starting to let up a little bit on that. So anyway, they're hopefully they're going to finish their cleanup they're looking at this week, but again, that's just going to depend on what their survey teams find, throughout the time. They've done quite a bit of cleanup and re-clean up on Cannon Beach and then down in the Terra Del Mar area. So hopefully that will slowly come to an end. They still have not released any information on where they think this is coming from. So it's still considered the mystery tarball episode of 2024. So with that, I'll turn it back to Commissioner Bell. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Well, it's frustrating to think that we have that much petroleum product just off the coast, floating around in the ocean, rolling up onto our coasts and tar balls on our beach and oiled birds, etc., and no idea where it's coming from.
I just, unless they know and they don't want to tell us, I'm not sure, but every email that I've been getting from them and meetings I've sat in, they still have not, they speculate, but that doesn't do any good to pass on the rumors and the speculation. So hopefully they'll be able to identify it. I know that they just are continuing to search out there. Coast Guard is really heading that end up, trying to locate areas of where it's coming from and where it's originating from. So hopefully they'll be able to figure that out. So, we can either mitigate in the future and stop it from possibly happening and clean up the source instead of just cleaning up the deposits that we're getting.
Exactly. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Randy? If not, we can move on to the Oregon Department of Transportation. Do we have Bill Jablonski with us this morning?
You sure do, Commissioner Bell. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Bill Jablonski. Oh, yeah. And thanks again. It's always a pleasure to call in every month. Bill Jablonski with the Oregon Department of Transportation. I'm the area manager here in Astoria. I want to give a shout out to Senator Weber for the promotion of the legislative listening tour. Like the senator, the agency itself is in the shadows, and some of the communication that's coming out. It is a legislative effort and not an ODOT effort. We're in a supporting role and happy to do so once we get information from them. So happy to be able to get to Tillamook on the 18th of June and participate as needed. The biggest update I can give you right now is the slide that we have on Oneida County Mountain yesterday, just north of Manzanita, about 2 miles, mile point 41, I think is where we pegged it at. Both lanes were cleared as of noon yesterday. We are going to have some scaling work, they call it. We need to get up there and take down some of the looser rock material that still remains and some of the trees that might be considered hazardous that might come down at any time. That's expected to start this week for about a week worth of work. There will be temporary closures of the road for 20 minutes at a time and holding traffic in one lane and then releasing that traffic. So when we get the exact timing and when that's going to happen, we'll certainly have a news blast go out, and people who have either signed up or our local folks will get notice that this action will be happening. Of course, it'll be on Trip Check as well too. So more to come on that, and some of the cleanup efforts that we need to do as far as getting some of the dangerous debris off of that mountain before it lands down on the highway again. One thing I want to also mention is the Northwest Act is also meeting at Tillamook County this month, not to be confused with the legislative listening tour, which is on the 18th. The Northwest Area Commission of Transportation, which meets every other month in a rotation, is meeting at Tillamook at the Officers' Mess at the Port of Tillamook Bay on the 13th of June from 1 to 3 o'clock. That's in person, and it's also a hybrid option as well too. When the agenda packet comes out with the link, I'll certainly send it to the county for their use if you want to post it on your website, where people can actually call in or Teams in or Zoom in and participate that way as well too. What else is going on around the area here in Tillamook is Oregon 6 will be doing some patching work along the asphalt problem areas that we know of. We're just waiting for some better weather for the crews to get out there and do their patching work. And we have some bank scour protection work going on Oregon 130 as well. We also have, just want to remind folks that we have several projects related to Oregon 6 that are still under design and ongoing. As I get more and more information of those, as we get close to going to construction, I'll certainly reach out to this group as well too and give some more updates. But just letting folks know that those projects are still ongoing, and they do take 18 to 20 months for us to be able to get through our process and for our permitting as well too. So we're still working on that as well. I'll take any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have any questions for Bill? Well, thank you very much for joining our call. Thank you for these monthly reports. I think they're really valuable for the community and helpful to us, so we appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, enjoy your day. Well, with that, we can move on to the Board of Commissioners updates. Commissioner Olson, would you like to start this morning?
Well, thank you, Commissioner Bell. Yes, I will. I'll go through just a couple of items. Last weekend was the annual Blessing of the Fleet in Pacific City, and I didn't make that one, which I have, first one I missed probably in 30 years, but that was because I was at a high school graduation for my two youngest grandchildren who now are leaving some empty nest people at home. But as I looked around at the graduation ceremony, and I know lots of others have been to them this time of year, as Representative Javity mentioned, you look at a room and there were probably close to 1,000 people there. There's about 170 graduates at this school. But, you know, when you look around that room, it doesn't matter who you're sitting next to. It doesn't matter if they're a Republican or a Democrat or what color their skin is or what nationality. Everybody's there, and everybody's there for a single purpose, to honor these youngsters who've gone through 12 years of high school, and then a lot of them moving on to other education opportunities or jobs or whatever. But you just stop and think, you know, I think we're more alike than we are different in America. And that just served to me as a bit of a reminder that people can come together with a common purpose and make stuff happen. So it was kind of a good feeling after that ceremony to see that. So now I'll get back to some county items. I'll be down in Newport later this week, Friday evening actually, for Bureau of Ocean Energy Management listening tour. They're coming up the Oregon coast, and as I've mentioned before, there's a process to put electrical generation windmills out in the ocean, one off the coast down by Brookings and very far south, almost at the California border, and then another one a bit north of that in the Coos Bay up to Reedsport area. If and when they get that in, and they're actually accepting bids and hoping to award contracts in October, that eventually it would generate enough electricity to power the equivalent of the city of Seattle and Tacoma. So it's a big deal, and it's moving forward. And what that means for Tillamook County is nothing as of the moment, but in the year or two or three ahead, the folks, the federal government has mapped out what they think might be suitable sites all the way up to the Columbia River, meaning off the Tillamook coast as well. And so we'll just keep our eye on that one. And as it picks up interest, then I think people here need to pay attention, because it's the federal government, not the state government, and they tend to do what they're going to do. So more to come on that one. We're also, tomorrow, we'll consider appointing a new individual to our Fair Board, a gentleman by the name of Corey Hollis, who is a local police officer with the city of Tillamook. And he moved here just a couple of years ago from Texas, but he met his wife in Texas, who happened to be from Tillamook. So they did the correct thing, which is bail out of Texas and come back to Oregon. And so here they are, and he's offered his service to be on that board. So another good member will join our volunteer corps at Tillamook County. I've talked before about some of the small utilities and the issues they're having. So our second meeting will be on June 27, 9 to 11 in the morning here in the courthouse. And we'll send out a notice probably today or tomorrow to all the small utilities. And we'll talk about some of the common issues that we've talked about before and what some of the solutions are, including memoranda of understanding, maybe some kind of a cooperative agreement, something authorized under Oregon law where you can share resources, including personnel and equipment, and make life a little easier for some of these very, very small utilities. Next thing I would mention is we'll be talking more as time goes on about a radio bond that the county will put before the voters at the November election. And there'll be quite a bit more information, but essentially we have a system now that includes all the law enforcement people, police and sheriff's office, as well as fire and ambulance, public works, transportation, Tillamook PUD, and others. We have systems now that are in many cases more than 20 years old. They're analog, not digital. They're very spotty. It's very hard to find parts for them when they need repair. And so it's time for a serious upgrade. And of course, this can quite literally be a matter of life and death. If you need to call for fire department or an ambulance service, you want them there now, and you want them to be able to communicate with each other and talk about resources and call for backup and all those things that happen. And the system here is not quite non-functional, but it's failing in several respects. And so there'll be an opportunity to upgrade that, and much more to come on that over the next weeks and months. Then finally, I will mention there is a Chamber of Commerce meeting today at the Pacific City Nestucca Valley Chamber. We'll meet at noon at the Kiowanda Community Center. And on the program today is, I think, a discussion about business insurance, and also something that we've done a time or two before is bring in some banking people and talk about security and what's going on in the marketplace with respect to credit card fraud and those kinds of things that merchants need to be aware of. And we try and do that before we get into the heavy tourist season. So that's on the schedule today, along with the rodeo queen. I'm sorry I don't have her name handy, but every year the rodeo queen and sometimes the junior queens come down as well. They make the rounds and say a few words, and another tradition here in Tillamook County. So with that, fairly busy week as usual. So thank you, Commissioner Bell, and I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And how about Commissioner Scar?
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
Okay, a couple of different things coming up this week. So some of you may have seen in the media that there are 2 new Board of Forestry members that were appointed to the Board of Forestry by the governor. It was a sort of an unusual process by which it happened. Normally, there is a list of folks who are up for potential appointment, and it gets posted for 21 days, and there's comment, and there's a lot of process around it. In this particular case, there were a couple of people whose names were put out there, a lot of uproar from the public. The names were pulled back, and they went back and said, okay, who would be good folks to do this? And they've identified 2 people who have now been appointed. And they were appointed, again, through sort of an odd process. So if you go online and look it up, you can find the Oregon, the OPB article that talks about it. But the 2 people were 2 of the main authors of the Private Forest Accord. So it was kind of an interesting choice of individuals. So one of those is where'd the first name go? So Heath Curtis. Heath Curtis is an attorney for Hampton. So he sits in an industry seat on the board. And then the other one was, sorry, the first name just went out of my head. Let me find it real quick in the article. Bob Van Dyke. And Bob is from the Wild Salmon Center. So it's a more environmental place, and that's where he sits on the Board of Forestry. So it gives what the governor hopes will be a balanced board, which is what it has been for the last at least few years, where there are both environmentally minded folks and industry folks on the board trying to find a good middle path. So 2 new people have been appointed. We have a Board of Forestry meeting this Thursday. It's actually Wednesday and Thursday for all of them, but the Forest Trust Land Advisory Committee will be having a conversation with the Board of Forestry on Thursday between 1 and 2:30 to talk about performance measures that will be intended to support a forest management plan, which is supporting the habitat conservation plan. So the work that has been going on for quite a while is moving forward with the potential approval, with the habitat conservation plan having been submitted to the federal services for them to approve. The forest management plan can now be worked on as well. The performance measures are what is intended to show that the forest is meeting the greatest permanent value. So if you're interested in knowing more about that and what that's going to look like, you can tune in on the Department of Forestry's YouTube channel this coming Thursday from 1 to 2:30 to see that conversation. We will be bringing forward our thoughts and concerns related to the performance measures, and this is one of what will be, I believe, about 3 conversations over the next 6 to 9 months as the performance measures are solidified and the actual goals underneath them are solidified as well. So that's coming up, and that will be an opportunity again to see those 2 new board members. And I'm sure at the beginning of that board meeting, there will be some introductions to them, which would be the Wednesday morning session you can also watch. Also coming up this week is the Housing Commission here in Tillamook County, Thursday morning down at the Port of Tillamook Bay Boardroom. We always invite people to join us. You can do that online. There's a link on the Community Development webpage on the Housing Commission tab, or you're welcome to join us in person. This is going to be a meeting where we have an opportunity to hear from all of our committees, see what work is being done. And in addition to that, we will have an update from the developers in Manzanita who are working toward the affordable housing, the workforce housing, and some market rate housing, kind of all together in one section. So if you want to know how that's going or hear more about that, please join us for the Housing Commission. Always interesting. And then I'm just to let everybody know that I'm going to miss the next 3 community calls. I have a couple of different boards that I sit on where I will need to be at their annual meeting. So next week I will be at the Rural Oregon Continuum of Care's annual meeting. That is the group of all of the rural counties essentially across Oregon, and it relates to receiving federal funding for houselessness programs. So I will be there next Tuesday. The Tuesday following that, the Association of Oregon Counties has their annual legislative conference where we will be working hard on determining what are the priorities for the counties to take into the long session with our lobbyists. So we'll be there actually for 2 days working through all of the different topics. And so I will miss that call as well. And then finally, at the end of the month, I'm going to take vacation and I will be missing that call as well. So I trust my fellow commissioners and everyone else on this call to keep the community informed, but I apologize. I will not be with you for a few weeks. With that, I will turn it back to you, Commissioner Bell.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to briefly invite the community to a couple of events, upcoming events at Tillamook Bay Community College. The 14th is the Tillamook Bay Community College graduation. And as a TVCC board member, I just want to say I love graduation. It's one of my favorite events of the year. It's so heartfelt and sweet and meaningful, and multiple generations come, and it's just to support graduates, and it's just lovely. This year we're going to have 4 graduates speak at the commencement exercise, and it's just going to be wonderful. So that's the 14th at, oh shoot, I don't remember the time. Might be 5:30 or 6, but I'm sure you can look it up. And this year it's going to be at the fairgrounds. So that's the 14th. And then on the 21st, we have groundbreaking for the new healthcare education building. So that is very exciting. That's on the 21st of June from 1 to 2. And we invite the community to join us for that. It's really a community celebration because the community supported the bond overwhelmingly to build the healthcare education building. And it is a tremendous benefit to our community already. There's already a full cohort of nursing students enrolled in school, and we get to break ground on the building on the 21st. So I invite the community to join us for that. And with that, I'm going to jump over to the cities and ask if Mayor Stock is with us from the city of Manzanita.
Good morning, Commissioner Bell. I am here.
Good morning.
So I've just got a few items for everyone this morning. Working as we do on our normal duties and responsibilities that we have every single year, we did pass our budget for the city last week in a special session, and I wanted to give a particular shout out to our 5 citizen members of that committee who apply and are appointed by our city council, but they put in a great deal of time and effort during this, usually the most of it during the spring season leading to the completion of the budget. We got a lot of really good and helpful participation from them this year. And as I think you're all aware, everything up here is pretty much a volunteer gig. So I'm very grateful to all the citizens here who make a commitment to and do a really good job with helping the city when we get to these big milestones. So thank you to those citizens. And to our team here on the council and our city manager who did a great job with getting us set up for the next year. We are looking forward to welcoming Commissioner Scar to our council meeting, which will be tomorrow evening at 6 in the Tillamook. Boy, I've been listening to Tillamook so much, I've said Tillamook instead of the Pine Grove here in Manzanita. So we're very much looking forward to that. She's going to give us an update on housing, which is very near and dear to the people of our city here. And we'll be looking forward to her arrival. And then perhaps maybe more on a personal note, I just wanted to share a moment from this past weekend before the rains set in. We were coming back up the street from a drive actually down to the Tillamook Forestry Center, which was great. And I did get to experience firsthand the lack of cell phone coverage pretty much the entire way when we were on 6. So thanks to everyone who's been working on that. But we pulled back into our street, and literally on our very quiet street, there's this swarm of kids, like little kids, all moving really quickly towards the beach with maybe 10 or so adults with them, everybody smiling, everybody happy. And it just was a wonderful energy to see. And later that day, I went down and spoke to one of the parents who was there, and they were here celebrating their little boy's 6th birthday. And those kids were so excited to hit the beach. You could just see it in their eyes. And it was a great reminder of what a beautiful place we live, the access to one of the world's like great wonders that's just literally down the street from where I live, and the energy and the love that little kids develop for that, like right from the start. So it was great, and I'm trying to remember that feeling as I've been sitting here in the rain for the last couple of days, but I know the sun will shine again. So that's it from Manzanita this morning. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mayor Stock, and thanks for that lovely story. It really is, it's a wonder. You know, I feel like living in one of the most beautiful places in the world, we get used to it and sort of, you know, maybe speaking for myself, take it for granted. Like I drive down 101 every day and it's stunningly beautiful, but I don't see it that way every day. And so it is wonderful to experience someone else's joy, especially little kids' joy when they come to visit our area. So thanks for sharing that. Do we have anyone on the call from Nehalem? How about Wheeler? The city of Rockaway Beach, do we have Mayor McNeely? I'll give him a moment to unmute.
County.
Hey.
Yeah. It always takes
Good
a moment
morning.
to get unmuted. Can you hear me now? Good morning.
Yes,
everybody.
we can.
All right. Good deal. So beginning this Thursday, June 6th, the Rockaway Beach Artisan Market returns to the Wayside Thursdays from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I strongly recommend you drop by and enjoy Ronnie's Chicago-style barbecue, as well as all the other artisans that will be on display at the Wayside. Rockaway Beach's annual Kite Festival is coming to the Wayside on June 14th, 15th, and 16th. This is always a pretty special event, so encourage you to mark your calendars and drop by and enjoy the music and the events and the high-flying kites. Our budget committee did approve our budget, and it's been sent to City Council for adoption at the next council meeting. And then this is very exciting for our city. Please pencil in June 21st for the Anchor Street Playground and Parking Lot ribbon cutting ceremony. Early buzz is that the new playgrounds will be a popular attraction for children of all ages and all abilities. Even though it's fenced in, we've had a hard time keeping kids off the playground equipment, even though it's not officially open. And then Tuesday, June 11th is our Rockaway Beach Council and Staff Strategic Planning Retreat. As such, I will not make the June 11th meeting. So back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Did you say that the Rockaway Beach Artisan Market is Thursdays from 3 to 6 through the summer?
3 to 7 through the summer. Yes, thank you for getting that out there.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've heard great things about it, and I've never stopped by, but I'll put it on my calendar.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the City of Garibaldi.
Good morning, Commissioner. This is Leanne Welch, Interim City Manager.
Good morning.
Garibaldi? Good morning. We are have started the emergency sewer repair work here in Garibaldi on Highway 101. So between 6th and 7th Street, right, basically in front of our fire department, we have one lane closure of Highway 101 during the daytime, and that's going to last about a week. We have heard from the Oregon Department of Transportation about their contract, the contract for the urban street upgrades, where we're going to get new sidewalks and ADA accessible curb ramps, that the contractor is comfortable with Garibaldi holding our Garibaldi Days parade. So we've been talking back and forth about parade or no parade. So yes, we are having a parade. So now we get to hurry up and plan it. The city manager, as you know, I am recruiting a city manager for the city of Garibaldi, and that position or the applications are due June 6th, which is this Thursday. We're also recruiting for a utility worker 1 and a utility worker 2, and that position closes June 26th. So any information you want for those jobs, what the requirements are, and when their application, you can go to the Garibaldi webpage for more information. And this Thursday at 6:30, the Planning Commission is having a conditional use hearing for 14 commercial storage units here in Garibaldi. So are there any questions for the city of Garibaldi?
No questions, but I'm pleased that you shared with us that you are having a Garibaldi Days parade, because I had heard that there was not going to be a Garibaldi Days parade due to construction, and I had heard that people were sad about it. So I'm happy that it's going forward. Thanks for letting us know.
Yes, thank you. Turning to Bay City. So Bay City, our city council meeting is Tuesday, June 11th at 6 p.m. And again, we'll be adopting the budget that the budget committee had approved early on. And with the America Rescue Plan, the ARPA funds, the city of Bay City built a new groundwater well for safe drinking water. And we are testing the control panel today. So we are almost completed with that project. And it's been just a really good infusion of federal funds at the local level for infrastructure. So really happy to see that project. And then the Bay City Emergency Volunteers and TC4, which is the Tillamook County Citizens Corps for Emergency Preparedness, are planning the October 17th Great Oregon Shakeout Drill, which will be a county-wide drill, and also doing a camping in, which means citizens should be able to camp at their houses, try and be without electricity for 3 days. And if you can't go without electricity for 3 days, then you need to be better prepared personally to be able to handle those outlets. So again, we continue to work county-wide on emergency preparedness, and that's all I have for you today.
Thank you very much. How about Nathan George in the city of... Do we have Nathan from the city of Tillamook?
Good morning, Commissioner. I am here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about that. I had to get off of the mute.
No problem.
And I thank you. I did want to say to our Mayor Manzanita, I understand the word Tillamook. We oftentimes get calls for the county, and it is confusing since the city and county have the same name, but it's a great name. But wanted to provide a brief update on our council meeting last night. And at the council meeting, the council approved a resolution establishing rates for the Tillamook solid waste disposal as proposed by Walker Waste Solutions, doing business as a sanitary service. So there will be a rate increase, as there usually is, and nobody spoke at the public hearing, so that was adopted and went well. Also, the council approved the resolution to name, or actually rename, what has been currently the 2nd Street Plaza will now be called the Henson Plaza, after our late council member Doug Henson and all the wonderful service and things that he's done. So there will eventually be a plaque there, and we're very excited about that, to honor him with what turned out to be, as I learned from his wife, was his favorite project. All the projects he worked on was actually the 2nd Street Plaza. So very, very excited about that. Also a reminder that his funeral is on Thursday, June 6th at 2 p.m. at the Willamette National Cemetery, which is a military cemetery, of course, in Portland, Oregon. So, also, at the meeting, we discussed a flagpole at City Hall, and the city removed that during the renovations many years ago before I came, due to lead-based paint and deteriorating condition as it was an original pole from the U.S. Postal Service back in, I believe, 1941. So city's looking at putting one back up. The city definitely wants to put one back up. It's just been cost prohibitive, and that's why it hasn't gone up so far. Also, after the budget passes in, I presume it'll pass in our next meeting, then we'll be discussing revenues for long-term sustainability for the city. Additional revenues, as we do not have, the budget's fine, it's balanced, but for long-term sustainability, we do not have sufficient revenues and resources. In the police department, last week, our Memorial Day was busy for officers as we saw an increase in traffic and visitors to our area during the entire weekend. This past week, police department had firearms training for the entire police department. We want to thank Sergeant Hall, Sergeant Harrell for their dedication and professionalism. The training was well received and enjoyable. Lieutenant Trox has continued conversations with Anisha with Tides of Change regarding sexual assault response. The protocol was discussed and ideas on further collaboration regarding the collection, storage, and analyzing the evidence collected during a sexual assault forensic examination. And Tillamook High School graduation was last week, as everyone knows. We want to thank the police department wants to thank the Public Works Department for the help with the parade for graduates. This was a great team effort from all of our city. It took a lot of staff time and several hours of overtime for the police department. Even our code enforcement officer, Moreland, was an integral part of the operations as he transported, set up, and picked up all the traffic control equipment, which include cones, barricades, and signs. The Public Works Department, it is a great effort on the city of Tillamook. I really want to thank especially our police department, our planning department, and our Public Works Department for all of their work. The Streets Division will perform routine maintenance, including mowing, sweeping, and filling potholes. Crews will hang flower baskets along Main Street and Pacific Avenue on the morning of Wednesday, June 5th, until tomorrow. Please be mindful of employees and equipment. We are excited for this year's flower basket program. Jandy's did a beautiful job assembling 40 hanging out baskets again this year. As more sewer laterals are replaced and the city continues collaborating with contractors and homeowners, please be aware of the increased construction activity around town. For information on road closures and press releases, please visit our website. I wanted to go back up to the flower basket hanging program. I want you to know that that was a huge program from Senator Weber during her time as mayor, and also our councilor Doug Henson. So that's truly flower baskets are their dream and vision, and we appreciate that hard work that they put in, and we continue. Our Public Works Department is hiring a full-time technician. This position offers excellent benefits. Please visit our website or City Hall for an application. Public Works crews work 6:30 a.m. to 5:30 Monday through Thursday. So please call our number for urgent outside matters. Please, you can contact an on-call employee during any hours by calling our main number, and you'll be transferred if it's after hours. So a reminder that residents are responsible for maintaining their private sewer ladder lines and fix them when problems occur. We had 2 residents came in last night at City Council and talked about how they had lived here for 20 years, and apparently they weren't aware of that. So we continue to remind people it's been the code since the 70s, and we continue, since I've been here for the last 3 years, we've been advertising, and we've done a town hall for the entire city. It goes out on all the utility bills. And I know the couple last night that talked about it, so they didn't see their email. Well, it's not in the email, it's in the actual statement. So just a reminder of, I would recommend people go in and look at their statements once in a while and read the notes that are there. We also do mailings, we do all kinds of things. So always trying to get the word out, and we always take feedback if anybody has some suggestions how we can do more. Also want to remind everyone the Service Sewer Warranties of America policy. It's available to help out with sewer and water laterals, as well as indoor plumbing. That can be found on our website. And you can also contact the city. We can get you to the correct website for the actual company. All municipal elections on the city's website are live and will be live through August 13th. Wards 1, 3, 5, and 6 are all open seats. So Ward 6 is actually a 2-year unexpired term. The way our charter works, even though the council has appointed Sylvia Schreiber to fill that seat, because it has to be rerun, and at the next general election, that seat is also open. So to run for city office, the resident must complete the packet found on the website. City's website, or it can be picked up at City Hall in the office of the Deputy City Recorder, Tammy Heinzman, through August 13, 2024. So look forward to having those returned by those who are interested. We are pleased to announce the city has hired a new public works supervisor for the streets division. His name is Tyler Hotchkiss. He started yesterday. Please note we are also still hiring for the public works technicians, as I said earlier, the chief of police, a planning technician, and a project manager / engineer. So please visit our website or stop by City Hall for an application or additional information on that. Reminder, if you see something, say something by calling 911 emergencies and dispatch for non-emergencies. Also wanted to point out that I learned recently, well, I known about it, but I hadn't really thought about it in a long time, but our last quarterly police department meeting, Lieutenant Troxel brought in the representative of 3 different counties for the 211 number. There's actually several, they're called N100 numbers, such as 911 and 211 and 411 and 611 and 811 that have a lot, most of them are registered through the FCC, and they are actually public information hotlines. So I've asked staff to put together some information on these, and we'll be posting our new website, or in the near future on our website, we'll have an informational site on how to use all these 211 numbers and what they do for us and for the community. So for example, 211, you can contact about all kinds of social services and help and all kinds of information. Most of us were just familiar with 911, but there's actually several other 111, N100 numbers as they're called. Next council meeting will be held on Monday, June 17th at 7 p.m. And we encourage anyone interested in local government to attend virtually or in person. And thank you, Commissioner. That's what I have. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nathan. Well, with that, I will thank KTIL, as always, for broadcasting this call. Thanks to everyone for listening, and thank you to everyone for participating. Have a great day, everyone. This call is adjourned at 9:16.